Whole brand new file.
Just cause too, you can do anything just because.
This game was the last straw.
I see your point, but I still disagree.
Massive RPG zombie game.
Okay, I didn't know we had agreed to that.
From a consumer point of view,
Because it's never gonna change unless we take a stand.
it's supposed to be the parents' responsibility.
How is that fair?
We're not going to talk about
Well,
that.
beggars can't be choosers, but I wish I could be.
Link 584.
Voice go.
It's a podcast. Hey there, I'm Link 584,
And I'm Voice go.
and this is the podcast. Episode.
yeah.
What is it? 4 now?
I don't
3?
know.
It's some number. But we're talking about online passes. More specifically, do we like them? Do we not like them?
And what are they?
So let's start with the what are they.
Sounds great.
Okay, so online passes is something that's been recently introduced into the gaming industry, where when it comes to titles such as Call of Duty or Battlefield, they require that you have a pass to play online. If you purchase one of their games new, you get the code that you can enter just like you would maybe for some sort of avatar item or special DLC or whatever. You enter the code, and that gives you the online pass for that game permanently. If you buy a used game, it's not guaranteed that you're going to have a pass included with it, because the person may have already used it up. And so they have a fee of about, I think, $10 or so. It varies from game to game. That requires you to purchase that in order to do it online.
Which I think obviously is an awful idea.
Why is that obvious? Because I think, as a consumer, I don't like it to an extent, because looking at it from a game developer point of view, especially in recent times, I think that this is an acceptable idea. Because if you buy a game used, okay, by then, by the time it would have gone down in price, that's worth to getting it is a year later. And by then, a year later, they'll already have a new game out. So you'll be behind the times, and you're obviously not playing it with your friends. So buying a game for maybe $35 and then a $10 code is $45. And that's much better than $60 with tax, so $63. So you're still saving $17. So I think, hey, I'm still getting a deal. There's no problem with that. That's great. Because at the same time, when you're buying a used game, you're not supporting the game company anymore. As much as some people think they are, you're just supporting the company that's selling it, such as GameStop or Best Buy, wherever it's being sold used. You're just supporting them. When you're buying new, you're supporting both of them.
Okay, sure, that works out well, I guess. But I mean, if you have a game for PS3 where you're not charged for online services to have an account, to have a membership, whatever, fine, whatever. Like, make people pay to, whatever. Do the online passes. But for Xbox, where you're already paying a flat fee for, so much online time, gold time, whatever, why should we have to pay more to be able to play online when we're already paying so much money?
Because, it's $60 a year, so that's the equivalence of one game. And also, it's because you're not paying the game company. You're paying Microsoft, which isn't making Call of Duty. They're not making Battlefield. They're not making said online titles.
So then what's going to make me want to buy a game? Like, what's going to make me want to purchase that game if I have to pay another $10 after paying $60? Because I'm a diehard Xbox fan, okay? That's how it is.
Except you're not going to pay 60 plus 10 because the online passes come with games new.
Right, but
so
I'm not much of an a new game buyer anyway.
Well, I guess the thing would be, by then, the only time you would buy a used game, the only time they get a price drop is anywhere between 6 months to a year. And by then, if it's something like Call of Duty that's coming out with it yearly, they're only usually within 1 or 2 titles at a time. And so if you're getting it, we're seeing a lot of rapid increases where games, after 3 months or so, they go down about $10. Or there's a sale where you can get it for like $35, depending on what it is. But something like Call of Duty would be more like $45. And so you get a good new deal. And then you get the game new, and you get your pass at the 6-month mark for $45. But if you're going to wait till it's used, what will end up happening is the year mark will come around, an extra 6 months. You'll wait 1 year to get a game that is built around online community, such as Call of Duty, and you'll be paying probably $35 and then $10 for the online pass. So you might as well just get it new anyway at that point. But you're saying, okay, well, I don't want to pay that. I just want to pay the $35 and save the $10 more. Well, when you're at that point, it's around the 1 year mark, and by then they've already either released a new game or one will be on the horizon, and so you have to wonder how many people on your friends list are going to be getting the new one and putting the old one behind them, because they don't always all convert over instantly. Some of them say this Call of Duty is better than this one. Some of them really hate this one, so it's really mixed all over the board. But the thing is also to remember is certain games, such as maybe Assassin's Creed, where it's an added feature afterwards, they won't have online passes because that's not their main thing. When it comes to something like Call of Duty, it costs them a lot of money to host servers, and they're not paying, the $60 that you're doing for Xbox Live service isn't going to support the game company's servers. So when everyone buys their games used, if you have half the people that bought them used and half of them bought them new, it's really becoming a drain on their money, despite how many sales they make. Because if everyone else then decides to buy used after as many people that bought new, then they're not supporting them hosting their servers anymore, and every day it costs them money, so every day they have to make new sales. And if they're making more used sales than new after a certain point, then it becomes a financial drain on them just so you can have your fun. Which is also where DLC comes in play, and more hosting, and more servers.
I see your point, but I still disagree.
But for what reason?
I just, it seems a little bit ridiculous that you should have to now have a pass. I don't think they've applied this to any game yet, but...
They did. There is a Call of Duty service that you can now buy. GameStop has sold over 600,000 elite services. So what is, they have certain packages from what I believe is that you can get a deal that's either yearly or something that will or is a permanent one-time thing or something. I don't know what it is, but they have packages that are slowly introducing that affect online gaming. I think the elite package went along this alliance of you pay X amount, you have an online pass for all Call of Duty games that are created for the rest of your life. And on the current Call of Duty that's out, you are guaranteed all the DLC. They plan on something about $60 worth of DLC, and you're only paying about $45 for it, is what it is. So in the end, they offer deals that are better, but they rely on you to actually buy these good deals. If you buy the good deals, then that $10 is actually even less because you're getting $15 DLC free. But that's only if you're going to get the DLC.
Well, see, then that's fine to create little extra packages for those, those die-hard, whatever, fans, But, I just don't understand it. It's just game companies' way of getting more money and more money and more money. So if you can show me proof that, that their services are becoming, too costly to not do the online passes, then yeah, maybe I'll change my mind.
But that's where it is coming from. Is
show me proof.
Over the past 3 years, the used sales has been affecting game companies heavily, and when it comes to the ones that are doing online hosting, that's where another big drawback comes.
So then, if it's costing them money, then maybe they shouldn't be putting out, a new Modern Warfare every year. I'm not Modern Warfare, Call of Duty. It's like everybody's falling on hard times, and if people have to pay $10 extra to buy a used game to get the online pass to play with all his buddies, then he's not going to buy the game.
Also, it can vary. And also, a lot of these people, they buy their games new. Most of them buy their games new.
So then what's the problem?
But, when it first comes out, when it comes to the used, though, when, people expect these servers to be hosted for 3, 4, 5 years, that's where it's becoming an issue, because by the second and a half year, who's really buying this game anymore? So they're just keeping these servers up for people when they're not making any more money. It's kind of like why is it that people a World of Warcraft player, you pay for the initial disc. You pay for the initial chance to play. You sign up for it, and it's like it's $50 or something for the game, but then you pay $15 a month membership, and that's a much greater, vast world. But it's shared between all these players. I'm sure they have to store your character data. That's very small compared to you're all logging on to the same world. Every match of Call of Duty players is only holding about 20 people or something, so they have to generate all these different things. But so World of Warcraft, they have all these different servers, so they're generating all of these different things. So you take someone like World of Warcraft, and they're charging monthly. So
Okay.
I see $10 for a used game player who's already getting it cheaper than new. They're already waiting a long time to buy it, and you get it used, and you buy the Game Pass for $10. You're still getting it cheaper than it was new.
Oh.
So you're getting it cheaper than it was new. And the only reason we never had this before is you wouldn't be complaining if this always existed. Because thing is, now we're finally hitting the times where people are landing on tough times, so more people are buying used. And the problem is, though, when you buy used, you're not supporting the company anymore. And if people want servers
Okay, but why when you buy a used game, what about that says that you're not supporting the game company?
Because none of the money goes to the game company. Because
Why?
when you trade in a used game, you get in-store credit, right? You get in-store credit, and you could use that towards a new game, and that could help them if you buy a new game there. But when you're trading in a used game, it's yours. It's just like I work with sewing machines. Okay, we sell and fix sewing machines. When a person comes in and they buy a new sewing machine, let's say for $1,000 or something, okay, and they trade in their sewing machine, and we give them $150 for it, right? We have to sell their used machine, okay? We have to sell that machine for at least $150 to get that much back. We obviously would sell it for more because that's how we make profit. But let's say we're working with one company, where they bought the machine and they got it for now $850, right? They bought new, they supported the people that own the sewing machine. But what about that $150 trade-in that they did? That trade-in, we have to sell in order for us to get the money. That's where we get the extra profit from. So when you trade in a game, you're not supporting the company. When you buy a used game, that was something else that someone else traded in. So it's the store's property. It's not the game company's property. So that's why it's when you're buying a used game, you're not giving any of the money to Nintendo or Microsoft or Sony or whoever it is, whatever company.
So they no longer sell used games.
Well, that's the problem, is that the game companies have no say in that. There's a market for used games because that's where they come from. The game companies don't want to sell used games, but the problem is though, in a free market, that's what's allowed. The game stores, they can do used games.
Okay, what about renting a game? There are a lot of websites out there. I think one of them's like GameFly.com, where you can go and rent games as you would rent movies from Netflix. What if somebody rents Call of Duty? They have to buy a $10 pass just to rent the game too?
Well, see, now we're hitting an interesting gray area, because those have not popped up yet. Those actually we have no information about at this current time, at least as far as I'm aware, because I try to keep up on this stuff, and that is a very interesting one. Because game rentals are, a lot of people do rent games, but it's still actually a very small percentage that you might actually be the first person ever to think about it. Because that is a very good point. What do you do? So, do they have temporary passes? What is this? That would get too complicated, I imagine. So that's a very good point. Maybe those games, who knows? I don't know if that will even be an option to rent and play a game like that. But then again, when you're renting games,
because if you have to buy a $10 pass just to rent a game from, GameFly or whatever, like Call of Duty, the new Call of Duty's out, yeah, let's go rent it because I don't have enough money to buy it.
At least then...
And then they have to buy a $10 code, so they have this code forever on their system for a game that they don't even own.
But then again, you also look at it, if they're renting it, right? Anyone that's renting a game usually isn't an online game, because they're going to want to put a lot of hours in this. You're going to develop time for it. Usually when it comes to a game, it's something that you can buy and play over the weekend and beat it. Or you say, okay, I have a rental for 5 days. This is a 30-hour action game, and I have some time off. I can play it in this time for $5 rather than pay $35 for it used or $45 for it new. And I can, I'm dedicated to my time. It's kind of like when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out back when I was in high school. I beat it in 3 days, and it cost me $50 to do it. Cost me $50, beat it in 3 days. Then I could play on the hard mode if I wanted, and all my friends did, and they beat it in another 2.5 days because it went faster the next time around. So in 5 days, they beat it on regular and then hard mode, and then they were done with it until they want to play it years later. So that would be a game you'd want to rent. Is something that's usually 35 or less hours that you could beat in a week. Not something that you're going to want to play every night for months and months and months. Because when I played Halo 3, I played it at least 3-4 nights a week, a couple hours each night. By the time the end, that really racks up after a few months. So I don't think we're going to run into an issue with renting and having this problem.
I do.
If anything, it'd probably be a very, very small percentage. Probably maybe about like if only 1% of people do this, it's a very small group that...
I wouldn't be surprised if, with people are still falling on hard times, that this wouldn't become a huge thing. Because, you barely get anything when you trade a game in. Barely get anything at all from what you bought it for. So I wouldn't be surprised if more and more people started renting games before they buy them to know if they're going to even like it.
Well, a lot of people are very, that's the thing, is that we're talking specifically, though, about games such as Battlefield and Modern Warfare. We're not talking about all games here. Any single-player games are instantly out of the loop, And most games with multiplayer attached on are out of the loop because it's a very small server space they're taking up. It's just these dedicated 1 to 3 games that come out every year. And Call of Duty, they're creating packages where if you're buying Call of Duty, you're playing with your friends, there's a good chance you're going to buy all the DLC for it.
Well, what about like a game for Left 4 Dead?
Yeah, that would be one of those games that would be included if they had a third one. Right now, 1 and 2 are already out. There's going to be no passes for anything that's currently out.
I know.
If they had a third one, though, you get an online pass and you buy it new when it comes out, that's fine. You buy it, used, and people are still playing this 3 years down the road and all this stuff. If you buy it used after 1 year, there's a good chance, if it's a good game, it'll still be for like $30, $10 passcode, $40, but that's still much better than buying it new. But I imagine there'd be some crossover, depending on the time of the year, where they would be equal to one another, and that wouldn't make sense. So I'm sure, and also the price point is going to vary per game. For some games, it might be $5. For some games, it might be $15. Who knows? We won't know until we start seeing more of this rolled out.
Okay, well, say like a game is half a year old, but you can still buy a new copy of it in stores.
Yeah, you can. Well, you'll be able to buy a new copy for a while, for at least well over a year.
So, say like the price drops down to $40. It's brand new.
Mm-hmm.
You're just paying the $40. You don't have to pay the $10, right? Because there's that code inside.
Right. If it's new, you don't pay for the code. If it's new, you get the code with it because you bought it new.
I don't know.
Because if you buy the game, most people down the road, when a game's been out for, a while, they say, okay, so I'll get a great deal. I'll get a buy 2 used, get 1 free. This is one of the ways they have to combat it, is when they get buy 2 used, get 1 free. What if they did that all for this games under the same company? You bought 3 games from a company you might love, but you're not supporting them at all. So they have to do a little something to combat it. And I say $10 to combat them losing 35 plus 35 or here, and for losing, if they buy 2 get 1 free, you're buying $30 games, that's $90. I say $10 to combat losing 90 from these buy 2 get 1 sales, or just on a regular day. Losing $30 here and there from a lot of people, hundreds of thousands. I say $10 is not a bad thing. And if anything, yes, I don't want to pay that. Of course I don't. But I think this is going to only fall on a certain number of people, and they'll just have to realize that, hey, even if they complain and complain and complain, in the end, if the statistics show that the game companies can't support it, and some people say, "Oh, well, I hate this. I can't buy it because I just can't afford $10 more, and I really want it." Save up an extra couple weeks and then come back. Because yes, $10 here and there, on 3 games a year or something, that's $30. We all work so hard to try to get our water bills down or heating and all this stuff. And $30 can be a lot by the end of the year, but we won't be able to change what they're losing, because there's a lot of growing used game sales. Used game sales are actually growing.
Okay, well,
So,
you may have changed my mind.
I may have.
You may have changed my mind, yes.
Yes. But like I said, this is what's being reported, and so unless I actually had real, true statistics in front of me, see what the loss is, because if we found out that they're only losing like a very small percentage, then that's that. But apparently, from what I was being reported, companies are being hurt by this, and so $10, I'm okay with that. But you know what we need to talk about another time is certain games, PC games, that I don't know if this is still an issue, but if you downloaded it from certain like EA games, I think is what it was, you had to be connected online to play it, even if the game wasn't online.
Ah.
Now that's a subject for another time, though.
Alrighty. Well, why don't you guys leave us your opinions and your thoughts in the comments, and who knows, maybe we'll revisit this topic at a later date when
we have some more information.
If it starts coming out, we'll keep you informed.
Yeah, I wish I knew a little bit more about the Call of Duty package and stuff like that, but this is all still fresh and still new to this year. So, we'll have to revisit it and see how this goes in the next couple years.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. This was another podcast with Link584 and Voiceco.
Whee!
Squeeze!